stay. Don't bother to write me and tell me that. Try and contact Panday, cause the motto now in jail is protect and serve.
You get a government you deserve.
So tell me you get raped, but you got some nerve. You get a government you deserve.
Sugar. Hello.
I'm appealing to Mr. John Public. Please don't approach me at all. You have a way when government jam you. Is in my ear you want to ball. You had a chance to change wrong the system with your finger of democracy. And they promise you harm, but he go get your man for the next 5 years. Wait and see. I'll agree with you if you say the EBC cheat.
Good evening. Good evening. Sorry for the late start, but as promised, we will have a statement delivered by the leader of the Nevis Reformation Party, the Honorable Dr. Janice Daniel Hodge.
Good evening, my fellow citizens, my fellow Nevisians at home and in the diaspora, my fellow residents, nationals and non-nationals. Over the last few days, there has been much debate about our beautiful island of Nevis, particularly lands on the southern part of the island and the direction in which the present administration is willing to chart her course for the future. There is so much at stake for us and for future generations that no matter your political affiliation, I ask you to listen with a sense of urgency. In 1983, after 101 years, and after tough negotiations and many sacrifices, Nevis regained the right to self-administration as reflected in the Schedule 5 of the Constitution of the Federation of St. Christopher and Nevis. These legislative powers, among other things, include the right to make laws for land matters and the manufacture and supply of electricity. Regrettably, the present CCM-led administration seems to be in a hurry to gift those powers back to the federal government. As many of you know, the Premier's wife is the owner of a real estate company that is involved with the purchase of lands on the southern side of Nevis, spanning the general area from Long Point to Saddle Hill. Now, let me say at the outset, there is nothing wrong with a realtor approaching landowners to purchase land, and there is nothing wrong with a landowner selling their land if that is what they want to do. However, no one has the right to harass you or force you into selling your land if you do not want to do so. For the record, my late father, Sir Simeon Daniel, owned land on the southern side of Nevis, and he gave clear instructions in his last will and testament that the land is to be sold. On that basis, when the executors of his estate were approached with a request to purchase that land last year, an agreement was negotiated to sell the land. Those were the wishes of my late father. As far as I can recall, there was nothing unusual or no reason to be concerned when the agreement was executed. Personally, I do not own any land on the south side of Nevis, and I am not selling any land on the south side of Nevis, as some rumors have been suggesting. In recent months, serious questions have been raised about whether there is a plot being hatched behind closed doors and in a shroud of secrecy to force landowners on the southern side of Nevis to sell their property. Landowners must be aware that with the special sustainability zone legislation passed in the National Assembly last week, if the Premier and the Prime Minister designate lands on the southern side of Nevis as a special sustainability zone, your land may be deemed as needed for a public good and taken without your permission. That is deeply troubling, and even more so because of the lengths to which the Premier is willing to go to acquire people's lands. In addition to providing the means by which the Premier can acquire people's land, the SSZ legislation gives the Prime Minister the authority to approve or disapprove special sustainability zones in Nevis, each with a minimum of 500 acres. But why should the Prime Minister hold such authority when our Constitution makes it clear that Nevis has the right to control its own lands? Why has the Premier surrendered this power, just as he did with our natural resources, such as geothermal? What concessions have been made? What deals have been struck in secret? I do believe that time will reveal. In the meantime, however, I must say loudly and clearly that I am not in support of any plan to give up our people's lands, whether to domestic or foreign investors, to develop Nevis in a way that shuts out Nevisians. Some estimate that as much as 6 square miles on the southern side of Nevis is under threat to be included under the deceptive Special Sustainability Zone legislation. Imagine special sustainability zones in Nevis with their own brand new hospitals, brand new schools, police stations, and power grid, while the Premier cannot complete a hospital that has been under construction for 8 years to benefit the people of Nevis. He cannot secure proper facilities for our police and firemen. He cannot stabilize our electricity, and he cannot build a community college for our young people. I am completely against development plans on Nevis, where a few will be enriched at the expense of the Nevisian people, where the Nevisian people continue to struggle and are not elevated. I quote the late Right Excellent Dr. Sir Simeon Daniel, my father, who said, "If growth in the economy only benefits a tiny, wealthy minority, whether domestic or foreign, it is not true development." Land ownership, hard work, and self-determination are the hallmarks of the Nevisian people, and I will not sit idly by and see Nevisians being forced out of their lands for the self-serving interest of Premier Brantley. If we must fight, that is what we will do, with every fiber of our beings, in honor of those before us who sacrificed, and in honor of our future generations for whom we must preserve our Nevisian heritage. The Nevis Reformation Party will fight with every lawful means, through the media, through social platforms, through organized protests, and in the streets if we have to. We will not allow Nevisians to be locked out of our own island. The Bible tells us, though they plot evil against you and devise wicked schemes, they cannot succeed. For God knows the plans he has for us, to prosper us and not to harm us, to give us a future and a hope. I thank you for listening, and let us stand together. Let us fight together, and may God continue to bless us all and bless our beloved and beautiful island of Nevis. Thank you.
There we've had it, a statement issued by the leader of the Nevis Reformation Party, Dr. Janice Daniel Hodge. We'll be back in a while with your voice with the NRP.
Your voice with the NRP. this and every Monday, 8:30 to 10 p.m. Join host Stephen Semanas and the NRP candidates as they amplify your voice.
It's 10 minutes to 9, and of course, every Monday night we go all the way up to 10 o'clock with Your Voice with the NRP. And as promised, we've got with us the leader of the party, Dr. Janice Daniel Hodge, the cool ruler, and a special bonus. We've also got with us Miss Carleen Lawrence. As usual, we'll go to the party leader for the opening remarks, and then we'll allow Carleen to tell you who she is.
Thank you again, Mr. Manners, and as usual, it is always good to have an opportunity to share with the people of Nevis and those in the diaspora concerns that we have here, and in an effort to bring awareness to our people of issues that they really should be concerned about. Now, you know that I'm usually here on the fourth Monday of the month, but I am here this evening because, of course, there are matters of such significance that we cannot afford our people to not be informed. We cannot afford for the wheels to keep turning before we take the necessary action to ensure that our people are well informed and are not forced into compromising positions, are not forced to make sacrifices that they did not intend to. And the matter, Mr. Manners, regarding the southern side of Nevis has generated quite a lot of discussion. My phone has been ringing nonstop. I've been receiving messages, and generally people are concerned as to what exactly is happening in Nevis. We are speaking about development and promoting sustainability, but what we are seeing is far from what a sustainable island should look like. And while we speak about sustainability and the need for economic development, I can never forget the quote rendered by my late father that said, if growth in the economy only benefits a tiny, wealthy minority, whether domestic or foreign, it is not true development.
Thank you, and of course, Carleen, it's over to you. You haven't been here too often. I think probably for the first time on Your Voice, so could you tell our listeners and viewers who you are?
All right, good night, and it's a pleasure to be with you and in your company, Mr. Manners. Yes, you're correct. It's my first time on Your Voice, but not my first time in the studios of 2020 Vision Radio. It's a pleasure to be here with you and with our leader, Dr. Janice Daniel Hodge. And I'm Carleen Lawrence. I am a fourth generation Nevisian, and I live in the Hanleys Road community. And we will just talk a little bit more as we go along about, the issues, especially concerning our lands in the area.
Okay, so some of you are getting to know Carleen for the first time tonight. Others found out who she is through a town hall meeting on July 10th, the Hanleys Road Community Center. And I'm going to play for you an interaction between Carleen and the Premier of Nevis, the Honorable Mark Brantley.
You have come to the town hall meeting. You have premised a whole debate tonight on some rumor that you say you have been hearing. I don't know how am I supposed to respond to that. I respond to facts. I respond to situations that we are aware of that are on the ground. I said to you that the government has had no formal proposal setting out any project of the kind that you've described.
But that wasn't my question.
I've said that 3 times. And every time I've told you that you're going back to say what you hear, your rumor, what you hear.
I didn't ask if the government had a proposal before it, I asked to please explain to the people or to shed some light on what we are hearing.
But how can I shed light on what you are hearing?
So you don't know?
I don't even know where you're hearing it it from?
Okay, you don't know, and it's unfortunate,
Okay.
Mr. Premier, that you don't know as the leader of the island.
Could you give somebody else the mic, please,
You
Ms.
should
Lawrence?
know as
We
something
would have
as
heard what you had to say,
serious.
Ms. Lawrence.
Mr. Scarborough,
Please, give
something
somebody
as-
else the mic.
Mr. Scarborough, this is a democratic island, we say, right? You don't have to agree with me. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
You have commandeered the mic on the basis of a rumor that you have heard. I don't even
No.
know, is your neighbors give you the rumor? You heard it on radio? Where did the rumor come from?
We know. I ain't even trying to let you lead me down that road,
But
because all of us know where
But
party come from.
we have a town hall where the government is seeking to engage with the public. You have insisted on engaging us all night on the basis of what
No,
you
Mr.
describe.
Brantley.
You describe as rumors.
I'm asking if there's any truth to it, because you should know. You're saying there's no proposal before government for
Yes.
development in the area.
Yes.
I accept that.
Okay.
But then you should know what is happening or what is said to be happening, and then you should be able to shed some light on what is going on. So I was only asking in the interest of the people that to make sure that we are not cut off from being able to use the Atlantic coast, right? And who is offended, I owe no apology to,
So,
right?
Ms. Lawrence, it's not about people.
I want to know, because I want to be able to use the shoreline, so I'm asking.
And if there is any development that we need to engage in with the public, we will. I have been trying to answer you all night, and no matter how I try to answer, you keep coming back to what you hear.
Okay.
What you've been hearing. I am not in the same circles as you. I don't know what you're hearing.
My
I can only
conclusion.
respond to what we know as government that has been presented to us, and that is what I can speak to.
So
If, again, I say, I were to speak to every rumor that this island generates, I would have no time to actually do work.
I understand and I agree. The conclusion to your response then, sir, is that you don't know what is happening and you don't know anything about what could be happening in that area. Thank you.
That was 5 weeks ago, Carleen, July 10th, Hanley's Road Community Center. You've had some time to reflect. What are your thoughts now listening to that tape again?
Well, Mr. Manners is interesting, and re-listening tonight, I haven't heard it for quite a while. You know, the Premier and the other leaders of the government came out to the communities, claiming to want to hear from the people and wanting to hear people's concerns. So I showed up in my community because, you know, a lot of talk was going on in the media on the ground about, you know, the sale of the lands on the Atlantic coastline. Some refer to the southeastern side of the island, and it stretches a large expanse of land. And I showed up because I wanted to get some information from the leader, you know, what is really going to be going on in that area. And so I had posed my question in the interest of the fishermen. I said, this is a fishing community. Hanley's Road is a fishing village. We have many fishermen from Rice's come right down, even from Rollins come right down. We have people coming down to fish. And then it's being understood that the lands are being bought, or people are being called and asked to sell their lands, and then you're understanding that it's going to be so exclusive that local people will not be able to access the area anymore. So I felt that Mr. Brantley, as the leader, should have been able to give some information as to what is being proposed there. But instead of answering the question or giving the people information, he chose to focus on rumor and, you know, go all over the place instead of answering the question, will the fishermen of Hanley's Road, the fishermen of Gingerland, the fishermen of Brown Hill, you know, be able to access the shoreline when these lands are sold? So we know that from what we can understand, that many persons are being contacted to sell their lands to the real estate agent that Mrs. Brantley is owner of, to my knowledge, or manages. And he had seemed to take special offense when I had to mention her name, but I could mention her name because I myself own a little bit of land in the area and was contacted by her. Now, in the town hall, I didn't expose that at time, but I myself was contacted last year around April or so about if I would be interested in selling the land that I own there. And at the time, I said, well, if the price is right, that was my answer to her at the time, because she said to me that there was an investor that wanted to purchase some property. Now, bear in mind that at that time, we had no idea what exactly the investor or the investment was about. So I figured, okay, I have a piece of land and I might be interested in getting the cash. So I said, well, if the price is right, I was all ears, I was listening. And so she set up a meeting, a telephone conference with myself and a voice. It sounded like a Caucasian voice. And we had a telephone conference. And the person indicated to me that they were indeed the developer and they were wanting to purchase the land. And I asked 2 questions in that telephone conference, and none of them were answered. And I asked what type of development it's going to be, and he kind of was evasive about it. And I also asked if local people would be able to still use the area. Again, he avoided answering the question. He said something about, well, all the locals that we spoke to have the same concerns, but we are not going to build chicken coops in the area, but never really answering. And then he also said, we would even pay you more than the market value of the property. And they are going to make me an offer, and I should look for the offer in email. And to date, I haven't seen any offers, and then it got down. This is now a year ago. And then you start to hear from more and more people in the area that they're being called and they're being contacted and different types of arrangements are being made. And then you got the news of this enclave that meant that, local people would not be able to access the area. It's going to be a sovereign something, and it's a state within a state, and they're not going to be guided by the laws of the federation. And I was like, what? So that's when I said, well, as much as I might need the money as a single woman, I would not do that, And so when the NIA decided, or the CCM decided that they were having these town hall meetings, I said, well, I have to go because I have to find out what it is that they're really intending to do. And the recording, speaks for itself. The premier avoided answering. He talked about the rumor. He stressed, which circles I am in versus him not knowing who I talked to, where it came from. People in the crowd were telling me to hush, trying to get the mic, give up the mic, don't talk anymore. So I even had to turn around to the crowd and say to them, this is why they came. They came to hear from the people. And unfortunately, there were only 3 persons in that room from Hanley's Road. And there were probably only 8 persons from the entire constituency of St. George's. And that was kind of unfortunate. But one of the problems is the organizers keep changing the date. So people didn't even realize that the town hall was going to be on the 10th. But, so that's kind of what generated my interest. And as a Nevisian and as a woman and as a black woman, knowing the struggles of our people to even own a piece of land, to see that the people that we were elected to represent us, to protect us, seems like they're actually working against us. And that is very, very, very concerning, and we really have to forget about certain other things and really fight for our island nation, you know? Yeah.
Okay, let's take this. Somebody wants to weigh in early. Good evening, caller. Welcome to Your Voice with the NRP.
Good evening to you, Steve. Good evening to Janice and Carleen. And,
Good evening.
I must say that I heard some of that tape, but I didn't hear the entirety of that tape. But Carleen, basically, I want to say thank you, because I realized people were trying to beat you up. They were jumping all over you, and you stood your ground like a lion. And that is what we need, people in Nevis. And it's a woman who does that. Is got to be a strong woman to stand up to all those people and put forward her opinion. And what you see, we have now realized what it's all about, that it wasn't really just a rumor, that the Premier knew exactly what was going on. And that is what, people, I don't understand if people in Nevis know that Nevis, to belong to us Nevisians, that it's not even, it's our ancestors' blood, back from the slavery days, they had fought for this land. I mean, we've had people, to fight against the planters and stuff like that in our day, and do whatever they had to do to get Nevis to the point where we are self-governed. Now we're going to take up almost a third of it to give it away and say here to somebody to come in that our ancestors now won't be able to do any. I mean, our children won't be able to even go onto that beach to buy a piece of property on that land and build a house or do anything. And I think that is wrong. And people, it's not a CCM, it's not a NRP, it's not a Labour thing. It's a Nevis thing. And if the people of Nevis do not come together and stop this foolishness, it will be a problem and we will lose. People must realize that this is not political anymore. This is Nevisians against anybody else. And anybody else who wants to sell our land, our birthright, is not one of us. All I'm saying, they're not one of us. If anybody wants to give away our birthright for 30 pieces of silver, or how much ever pieces of silver, gold, diamond, or whatever it is, they are not one of us. All right?
Thank you.
Thank you, caller. Janice, you said in paragraph 3 of your statement tonight, as many of you know, the Premier's wife is the owner of a real estate company that is involved with the purchase of lands on the southern side of Nevis, spanning the general area from Long Point to Saddle Hill. Let me take this call. Hi, good evening, caller. Welcome to Your Voice with the NRP.
Good evening, Steve. Good evening, Steve.
Hi, good evening, welcome.
Good evening, Carleen.
Good evening.
Good evening to my honorable leader.
Good evening.
Let me first start by saying I have never been so proud, Dr. Janice, to call you my leader. I recall I decided I had enough of the politics. I'm old now and I was backing down. And you showed up because two people wanted to lead the party. And I said, well, let me stop and hear what they have to say. And I listened to both candidates then. And I was so impressed with you that I tell them, listen, no, I am going to be a delegate again for the last time. So I am so proud to call you my leader. And I'm hopeful that this is not going to finish right here. A Daniel is a Daniel. You are a Daniel and you're a true Daniel. Continue to fight for the people of Nevis. Now, Carleen, I never hear this back and forth. But I am so proud of you also. This is what you call woman power. This is woman power. And we look at the women who are coming forward to fight for Nevis. And I'm asking, we are the men. Because let us not forget, everybody in Nevis was told to try and get a piece of the rock. That is what the late Sim Daniel preached to Nevians. Get a piece of the rock. And now when you get a piece, it's going to be taken away. I wonder amongst myself, what the people of Nevis are thinking. Because this, as you said earlier, this is not politics. This is our patrimony. And I am calling on Nevians to recognize you're not florists. Flowers not have a child. But if you have one child, your child get maybe one or two. Generations to come would need this land. When I moved to Ramsbury, we didn't have no electricity, we didn't have no water, we didn't have no lights. Come to Ramsbury now. All the plots of land has been sold. And I'm saying that is what could happen over on that side. It's only a matter of time. These lands have owners. And what aggravates me most is the bullying. Because if I do not want to sell, for whatever reason it is, that is my given right. And for this man, whoever he is, to think that he have a right to Nevis, and he just claim it, whether this way or that is unreasonable. I am calling on Nevis people to recognize that we're not seeing politics. We are seeing Nevis taken away from us. I am hopeful that the people would stand up and recognize this is not blue and green. This is much more than that. Nevians, this is our last chance. Let us not forget, there ain't gonna be no Brown Hill Bay. And there ain't gonna be no bed and a handless road to pull up my boat. Based on what is happening. Tell me which part the politics there in that. We have to stand up and fight, because if you don't fight, they will walk all over you, as been happening before. Let us come together as a community, as a country, and fight our God-given rights. Good night and goodbye.
Thank you, caller. So, Janice, are you or were you surprised that 1 year out, the Premier of Nevis is claiming innocence and instead latched on the preface to Carlene's question about rumors? Does that surprise you?
It doesn't surprise me that he is operating the way that he does. We know his forte is to tell lies, and we also know that he's best known with the narrative of the scorpion. It is quite unfortunate, the situation that we're in now. And I am here this evening because what is unfolding before our eyes really has far-reaching implications. And when the people of Nevis recognize that your right to sell your land, that should be your right. The laws allow that if there is to be a public good, then you yield to the public for the greater good, so to speak. But what we have seen is a roundabout, deceptive way. Because I can recall when I heard some rumors about the realtor getting the land by eminent domain. And I said, no, it would have to be for a public good. It cannot be just for a developer who wants to do a development. And so I was not as concerned, because I always know that there would be some people who would want to sell their lands, like I said, whether it's for legal reasons or financial reasons. And I myself am a realtor. And if I have a client that is looking for a particular type of property, then I would try my best to accommodate the client. But when persons started to complain that they were actually being harassed, they already said no, they're not interested in selling, but they continued to receive phone calls after phone call, and then were told that if you don't sell, it would be taken by eminent domain. I said, no, that is not right. And even when there were discussions about don't sell your land, if you're in division, don't sell your land, I kind of took a back seat in that discussion because you don't know each person's position and whether or not they may need to sell their land. And I think it would be unfair to ask persons who are desperately in need to do this one for Nevis, without any means of compensation or anything like that. I mean, I understand the overall picture. But when I listened to the bill presented in the House of Assembly, Special Sustainability Zone bill, I listened, and that is when I recognized that the Premier and the two members of Parliament in the federal government went to St. Kitts to support a bill that would allow the Premier to take people's land.
You want to hold your thought there while we take this call? Good evening, caller. Welcome to Your Voice.
Yes, good evening.
Hi, good evening.
Good evening.
Steve, what really strikes me in all of this matter, that a couple years ago, they take the former Prime Minister to England in passing a bill in a couple hours. But here you have the same former Prime Minister in cabinet, having set over this bill in the same couple hours. So something to me is fishy. Something is not going right. And why these politicians have to treat the people like a candy kitten down the road? Because I know a bill don't take a day to pass. You have to go in the house, have the first reading, give people a chance to digest the bill, and after you feel a couple of weeks or a month, you go back and you finish it off. But go in the house and pass a bill in a few hours' time, something is fishy. And we have to get to the bottom of this thing, because this is about Nevis. We cannot have these guys who don't have no love for Nevis, and people who we place in position do not have no love for Nevis, only pretending. So what land left for our grandchildren yet unborn? Something totally wrong. So we have to deal with this matter. I can say that Nevis, they love the land, and they don't want nobody rob them out of the land. But what I'm seeing going on is a lot of trickery. So this thing have to. So I call in on the opposition leader to take this matter to the court, because this is against the Constitution. It is against the Constitution, and this one, it don't sit well with me. It really don't sit well with me. So I hope the opposition leader can do what he have to do to get this matter come to a closure. Okay, Steve, good night.
Yes, good night, and thank you for sharing. Party leader?
Yes, to continue. So the concerns about the legislation, and it's a special sustainability zone legislation. For short, I would just say the SSZ legislation. Now, when I listened and recognized that what the bill set out to do, let's take the call.
Let's take the call. Hi, good evening, caller. Welcome to Your Voice with the NRP.
Good evening.
Hi, good evening.
Yes. I was hoping that we would go beyond sensitization of the people, because I think virtually everybody knows the issues involved right now. think as a matter of strategy that it not remain an insular thing with just Nevis. Okay? Yes, I know there is that temptation. But from the modus operandi of what the Premier did, where essentially he has gone to the federal government to essentially almost like wash his hands of this, okay? Or to get even larger support for what is about to happen. And I think that the NRP should do likewise. Don't restrict it to Nevis. Engage the opposition in St. Kitts, or the people of St. Kitts, because it's more than just a division issue now. Okay, this is a bill passed in the federal parliament. Okay, and there's strength in numbers, and so by way of strategy, I don't think it should be restricted to just what's happening in Nevis, because it's going to affect what happens in St. Kitts as well. In other words, it's a national issue, and it should not be compartmentalized to just Nevis. That's my view. That you should try and get more support, not just from the division, but from the opposition in St. Kitts. Maybe you can even engage the Prime Minister on this. Because, as you said, there was no consultation. Okay? And something as important as this, I would expect that certainly there would be wider consultation than just the cabinets of both the NIA and the federal and the cabinet in St. Kitts. Okay? And so I am saying that we really need to expand this, and yes, you know that there will be cries that NRP is blocking investment. Nobody is blocking investment. Everybody realizes the importance of foreign direct investment. But we've been having foreign direct investment since independence, okay? But we did not have to resort to these kinds of things, okay? And so, and you notice how Mr. Brantley essentially absolves himself by saying, it's a great thing, but it must be done right. That if it ends up being a problem, then, well, it's not me. I did sound the warning. Okay? That's a classic washing your hands of things. You know? And so I'm saying that it should be made more of a national issue, because it's going to have repercussions throughout the Federation.
Caller, I want to engage you for just 1 minute. We've said from this station that we basically have no opposition in the federal parliament.
Correct.
As a matter of fact, 3 years out, I have no evidence that there's even been a conversation between the leader of the opposition and the former prime minister, for instance, who is an opposition member. Did it surprise you that none of those two were in the federal parliament, Harris and Richards, to sound off on this bill? By the way, Sean Richards was in Jamaica over the weekend talking for the PMP as they head towards the elections. So you're saying the NRP should engage the opposition. The opposition leader is from Nevis, and they seem to be a fragmented bunch.
Well, when I use the term opposition, because yes, the reality is there's really no federal opposition. Okay, there's more federal collusion, right? And so when I use the term opposition, I'm talking about the other 2 members. Okay, not the other members in the opposition from Nevis. Not Eric Eveling or
Jeffers. Jeffers.
Jeffers. I wasn't referring to them because we know that they will toe the line. Okay. I was talking about Harris and Sean Richards. At least somebody should have been in that parliament on that day sounding the alarm. Okay? It should not have been allowed to just sneak in under the radar and nobody make noise about it, okay, or nobody sound the alarm about it, right? So those are who I was really referring to, okay, because it's no point you trying to engage the premier. If you wanted to engage you, he would have at least made you aware of what was about to take place as the federal opposition. So that's a waste of time, to be quite honest. But certainly, doing what your leader did when last Wednesday, I think it was
Monday.
She went. Oh, when was it?
No, Wednesday.
The House? August
No.
11th? Oh, sorry.
On radio.
On radio. Okay.
Down here. Right?
Oh, yeah.
You know, that was an eye-opener, and more of that needs to happen, okay? Because otherwise, this thing is just going to slide through, and we wake up one day and wonder what just happened. Okay, we don't want that. Okay, it's not necessary. Okay, there are ways of doing things, and it's not that you're against investment, like I said, because I know that is what's going to be said. But certainly, when it comes to, we have to decide: do people really want to be like Dubai? Can we afford that with our small space? Dubai is 30,000 square miles. How much have we? Do we really want to be like Florida with one lot of gated communities? Is that our way? Right? If people want to come and invest and live among us, do it on our terms. Okay? We've been developing steadily. Okay, not fast enough now, but certainly we've been developing steadily since independence, without those kinds of ruses, I would call them. Okay? And so really this needs to be a national consultation on the way forward, the best way forward. Yes, we need to diversify our economy and so on, but there's a right and a wrong way to do it. Okay? All right then.
Okay, thank you for engaging. Party leader?
Yes, so what I was saying basically with regards to the legislation, and I must say that the caller made a good point, is something that I have spoken about before, with the need to, collaborate to be able to come up with sustainable solutions, really. And we have seen it done before, I guess, when it's convenient for some. We hear the cry for the all of society approach. And then at other times, when it's not in their best interest, they sneak off and do what they have to do.
All right, let's take this caller. Good evening, caller. Welcome to Your Voice.
Good evening, Mr. Manners. Good evening to Dr. Daniel.
Good evening.
And good evening to Colleen.
Good evening.
Thank you guys so much for bringing it to the public. Let me start by saying this. A number of years ago, when NRP was in power, there was a project to come to Nevis, the oil storage facility. I don't know if you guys remember that.
I do.
And one of the things that the Nevis, that Honorable Joseph Parry and the Nevis Reformation Party did, was to hold a town hall meeting in the Back Village Community Center to educate and inform Nevisians about what was being talked about and planned to happen. That's what good leadership and a good government should do for their people. It's a shame that we have had to hear this go through. Well, we all know what has been said in the trenches, as Colleen said, over the last year. But it's a shame that it has taken to go to the House of Assembly in St. Kitts, the Parliament in St. Kitts, for now to come out like this. And our leaders, our current leaders, have not seen it as the respectful thing to do, to talk to the people of Nevis. Colleen, I want to thank you for your bravery and how you handled yourself in that question period with the Premier. Because I, like you, was approached on purchasing lands that my father owns in that area. I was invited to an online telephone conference with an investor. And one of the first things that turned me off was when he could not tell me what the investment was going to be about. So here you want to buy lands in Nevis and you want to engage me. You invited me to this meeting, but you don't know what the investment's going to be. And I know the people that live out there. They're not going to waste their time to come to Nevis and spend their money and not go through the proper channels. There's no man out there who would have come to Nevis with a project like this and not bother to speak to the government and the leadership of this country. It ain't gonna happen. Let's be real.
Okay.
We need to stop that foolishness. We need to stop disrespecting the people of Nevis. And the things that have gone on. My father not only owns land over there, but he was one of the persons that sold lands over there. And Dr. Daniel, Joseph Parry, Kawaja, Edred Walwyn, and I can go on and on, of the persons who owned land in those areas. Those were the people who inculcated in us from our tender age that you must own a piece of the rock. You must have a little something in your name. And Nevisians have fought to do that. Nevisians are buying land now, purchasing land now more than ever to put down their little homes. As soon as they turn 21, early 20s, they want to move out from home and get into their homes. We lived in our parents' home till we were much older because they were taught that's the way to go.
Absolutely.
Here we are now. Our parents have worked hard to do this and to build up Nevis to a large degree, and to watch it being taken away from us.
Yes,
Come on.
yes. Well, these are the concerns that we have, and that is why we cannot just sit back on this matter. And I want to bring some more awareness to certain sections of the legislation that I feel that people should be aware of and understand that this is not a situation that happened by coincidence. When we look at the legislation in particular, I can point out to you, for example, caller, you going to stay on the line or?
I think that's another call.
I didn't hear. Was that a question?
Uh-huh.
Yes, I said I wanted to point out section 4 of the legislation because I think it's something definitely worth understanding in that area.
Okay.
So I was asking if you're going to stay on the line.
No, it's okay. I'll listen off here. I'll call back if I have to. Thank you so very much for doing this.
Thank you.
Okay.
You want to take this one first or not?
Let's take that one and then...
Yes. Good evening. Welcome to Your Voice.
Good night, Mr. Manners, and good night to the two lions in the studio with you.
Lionesses.
Lionesses.
Good night. Good night.
This thing, the St. Kitts Nevis thing, you know. Trust me, you know. Because I can tell you something, you know, Mr. Manners. The 1st of December of this year, come at 50 years since my parents and other persons and St. Kitts going to vote for Bratty to buy with sugar lands, you know, and we ain't got no land now, no, you don't hear, you know. Because, for example, like the Prime Minister went and acquired 300 acres of land. How is it he got to acquire land where we don't buy the sugar industry, your land? 300 acres and put it in white man's hand again. For example, right, we got to take this thing very, very, very serious. When I went to junior high school at age 12, I learned the Jamaicans sell out some Jamaican leader. You must have remember too, who going in Parliament, they are not the government. They are the rule administrators. We are the government. We hire them. We are not standing up enough. So we're allowing them to do us a lot of stupidness. I want to go back to Jamaica now. Jamaica had backside, you know. The leader could have been Alexander Bustamante, you know. Sell out a vast area where backside was underground, you know. The investors went on to plant orange trees. Before the orange trees could have beer, they carrying a bulldozer, push down the orange trees and start to harvest the backside, left the Jamaicans poor. could have took Guyana, a gold mine. A husband and wife from Canada, my gold mine. If it wasn't for the luck of finding oil in Guyana would have been Porto. Our land, Bradshaw was able to acquire a lot of things from the investment of our land. And I want to believe he acquired lands in Nevis, so Nevis don't go, Okay then, because for example, JNF Hospital, where Bradshaw get money from? The airport, where you get money from? Could you recall we had 51% shares in Scantel? And they tell it how much money you get, how much money we as normal person get out of it. Nothing. 51% shares were in cable and wireless acquired by Robert Bradshaw. A lot of things we get from the soil. And then it's developed, Nevis developed too. So then we have to stand up and fight this backlash one.
We have to value what we have.
Thank you, caller.
Exactly.
Yes, we have to value what we have. And
yes, okay, thank you.
Thank you so much. Yes. One of the things that I want to bring to the attention of people is that based on the legislation in Nevis, the minimum amount of land for one of these sustainability zones is 500 acres. Now, when you look at a small island like Nevis, why does a sustainability zone have to be so large? And the other really vexing problem that people need to understand is that there is no maximum limit. There is no maximum limit. And so when we are going to say under this sustainability zone, you're going to get approval, you're moving with a chunk of 500 acres. And when there is no maximum limit, only God knows, with this current premier that we have, where are we going to end up? No, we heard the premier complaining that the former prime minister slowed up his progress with geothermal because he could not get a letter from the prime minister then. We didn't hear anything about it until it was election time. Now, when you look at this new legislation that has been passed, you were just crying that you had to be dependent on the federal government in order to advance the resource in Nevis. Now, listen to this closely. Where the area is within the island of Nevis, the Prime Minister shall consult with the Nevis Island Administration before entering into development agreements. And should the Nevis Island Administration approve, the Nevis Island Administration shall be a party to any such agreements. What this is saying is the federal government, the Prime Minister must consult with the Nevis Island Administration, but then the Nevis Island Administration would pick and choose which development agreements they want to sign on to. Is that because they're trying to avoid conflicts of interest between realtor and husband? So why if the development is in Nevis, the Nevis Island Administration would not want to be a party to that agreement? Why would you opt out and say, well, okay, this agreement is between the Prime Minister and the developer? So where does Nevis come in to enforce and execute? That is not the worst part. I speak about the lack of a maximum limit based on how small Nevis is. Nevis decided that they want to opt in or opt out, whether or not they want to sign on these agreements. And like I say, I cannot understand why, if the development is on Nevis, you would not want that developer to be answerable to you as well, right? Why the developer would only be answerable to St. Kitts? But listen to this last part now, where it says that the Nevis Island Administration shall be a party to any such development agreements, provided that no development agreement in respect of land within the island of Nevis shall be entered into without the prior approval of the Cabinet of the Nevis Island Administration. So now here what they're saying is that the Prime Minister cannot sign a development agreement unless he gets approval from the Nevis Island Cabinet. Now, where in there does it say that once the Nevis Island Cabinet approves it, that the Prime Minister must approve it as well. So that the Nevis Island administration can approve, but there's no guarantee that the Prime Minister will also approve. And the Prime Minister is the only one who is supposed to sign these development agreements. Now, the other part to that is that imagine that the NIA approves a development and sends it down for signature. Mr. Prime Minister, you sign it yet? Mr. Prime Minister, you sign it yet? Because there's nothing in there that says that once it is signed up here, it must be signed by the Prime Minister. And there's nothing that says that once it is approved, that the Prime Minister must approve. So just imagine, you go through all of the legwork, you set up this special review body, which is absolutely not necessary. But then you do everything, you send it down to the Prime Minister. And the Prime Minister, for his own reason, under his own deliberation, say, you know what? Nevis not behaving. I ain't going to sign this agreement. So where are we? Why was it necessary for the Premier to give those rights to the Prime Minister when the Constitution already laid out the rights that the Nevis Island administration has? And so it seems to me like the Premier was so focused on not having to sign on documents that his wife is, a party to try to avoid conflict of interest, that he did all kind of things to say, well, okay, I'm not the one signing, it's the Prime Minister signing. And he didn't stop to recognize that you could have a project up here and the Prime Minister could decide, I'm not signing that. Why have this legislation passed in the Federal Assembly? Nevis could have gone into the Nevis Island Assembly and passed our own special sustainability zone legislation. We went into the Assembly and passed our own integrity in public life, notwithstanding that we have a federal bill. And how interesting it is that this particular bill speaks to Section 37 of the Constitution, which basically says that the NIA has given consent for that law to be applicable in Nevis.
Let's accommodate this caller. Good evening, caller.
Good evening, panel. Good evening, Mr. Daniel.
Good evening.
You see the big issue there? We gone back under slavery before independence. That's the way chaos back on. Where Mr. Daniel, Mr. Swanston, Mr. Stephen, all of them fight for. And Joseph Parry fight for. Now they take us back. I wonder if people in Nevis could understand and analyze what you're explaining to them, especially the landowners them. I wonder if they pay attentively ears to what you're saying to them. You're widening up the landowners them, you know? Because this man here, he come out so plain to not even to Nevis people, to the rest of the world, that this man don't care nothing about Nevis. And he concerned about his wife, his daughter, and his farm. So when Nevis people take me out next election, I don't have to worry. Part of Nevis don't sell, and I have all the rights to that part here. Nevis people have no rights at all. But to sign off say, nobody own the beach in St. Kitts and Nevis. What happened now? The greatest part of Nevis, fishery. For the fishermen them, that they want. The man have no regards about Nevis people. And the problem is that those people who feeding off of him is who keep him there, and he don't tell them plain out, you keep me there so I could do as I want. And it's clear, he man no hiding, when you want nobody, he said to the wall what he have to say. So these people got to understand, the landowners, I have to wake up. I have to wake up. This man here selling out Nevis. So what happened to me and even going about your grandchildren? What happened to your children them? Them not going to land. Nevis going to be landless. It's only certain areas people don't go walk and drive. People don't understand how serious this thing be.
Yep.
I'm asking you all to continue, please, educate the people of St. Kitts and Nevis. And the people of St. Kitts got to open them out and share the views, because it's going to affect St. Kitts in the longer run. It's both island it's going to damage, Yeah. It might look so for now for St. Kitts, but it's going to damage both islands, right? And like you say, you have to engage with Mr. Harry, Sean, and even have a discussion with Dwyer, as much as they were saying about Dwyer. Dwyer is a man educate the whole of St. Kitts and Nevis, so what's going on. We have a serious problem over Frigate Bay with a piece of land, and Dwyer talk about it. Right there by the taxi stand area, a serious problem we have right there too, by the golf course. Listen now for you.
Yeah, thank you. Janice, we've got another caller waiting. Let's see if we can accommodate them. Good evening, caller.
Yeah, good evening, good evening.
Hi, good evening.
Good evening.
Okay, women that could run this country, man, I'm so proud of this.
Speak up a bit, please, caller.
I'm so proud of these two ladies tonight that I'm wondering if I have to. There's a lot of noise back there. Anyway, let me get to the point. Mr. Mark Mantley would have shut out St. Kitts for petty things. You cannot come and participate in calypso competition. No, stay down there. The Queen show, stay down there. But you're going to take the patrimony and put it in the hands of a Prime Minister in St. Kitts to say, if you don't sign off, people, this is big. Look at that one aspect of it. The man is not real. He's not ready for prime time. You can't participate, but you won't give the biggest patrimony and tell me that I'm waiting for you to sign when you want or when you want. When you don't want, think about it. Bye.
Serious thought. Yep.
Yeah, so we continue to recognize that this special legislation that was passed, I think the most serious ramification, based on what we have been seeing on the south side of Nevis, is that people who once had some comfort in knowing that if they did not want to sell their land, they did not have to sell it, are now in a position where if the area is declared a special sustainability zone, they may have no say. And when you look at the legislation, what it says, once it has been determined for public good, you would be offered the fair market value. You don't have to agree. They can just even send a check in the mail and say that we have taken your property. And this is why the people of Nevis, we cannot be in this position. My greatest frustration is that after all of these years, people are going to be forced, and this is what it is, forced to part, whether they have it for sentimental reason, family heirlooms, or whatever. And it just seems as if the Premier is so heartless, does not care. And when you have a public consultation for people to come out and be enlightened, you're going to tell them, go read the Bible. I didn't hear read the Bible part just now. Yeah.
No, well, this was a special cut. We left some of it out.
So the approach that the Premier is taking is that he feels that he has everything locked up in a bag and he already has the legislation. But as I sit here tonight, I am someone who grew up understanding the value of land to the people of Nevis.
Yep.
Let's take this caller. Good evening, caller. Welcome.
Yes, me again. As I'm listening to Janice, I realize that the Premier giving Nevis for more than one reason. He wants to have his cake and eat it too. But you know what's going to happen?
Who wants all?
Next Nevis Island government election, he's going to say it's not he. It's Dr. Joe.
Yeah.
He's going to blame Dr. Joe for this. And that is why you see he gives so much power to the Prime Minister. I am saying that Tim Daniel are turning in the grave. I'm going to say it again, Robert Ratchard turning in the grave, because those people wanted black people, let me say black people to earn and own. You remember a few years ago, Gian Daniel had a project over there? Gian Daniel had a project for over that area. Up to this day, according to Mr. Daniel, haven't heard a word from the Premier. It was placed on his desk. But you know what? I'm now seeing that Dion doesn't have the complexion he's looking for. Yes? What much, Uncle Tom? Should I say Uncle Tom? He doesn't have the complexion. And so his aim is to fight that everybody who are black, whether you help him or not, he's at the top looking down with who he thinks is his company. But one thing I know, black people are black people, whether you're rich or you're poor. Right, and goodbye.
Thank you, caller.
What else do we have that increases in value? What other security do we have other than our lands that our people would have fought for all these years, and now to see that the very persons that we would have been put in office to protect us is actually working against us.
And all three of them went to St. Kitts to support the bill because they, I'm certain, are quite instrumental in presenting that bill in St. Kitts. They avoided presenting it here in Nevis because it may have been too obvious that here is the Premier passing legislation to facilitate the sale of the lands on the southern coast of Nevis. And so all three of them went down to St. Kitts and supported the legislation that would allow people to lose their lands. And you know what is also troubling is the fact that when you understand what they're trying to do with these SSCs, where a developer can come in and with a minimum of 500 acres. Now I think Four Seasons is either
350 acres.
350 acres, and look at the span of Four Seasons and how it has impacted the economy on such a small island. Why the minimum amount must be 500 acres? And in those zones where they're going to get all of the concessions, all of the tax benefits, they're going to be allowed to build their health facilities, their schools, their security, etc.
Repair.
And while they are allowed to do that within that zone, the people of Nevis must stay here and suffer. The other day we had rough seas, the boats didn't run, our people could not get dialysis treatment. The hospital is still not complete, and the Premier does not care to focus on these things. He's busy focusing on how he can get investors to come in and develop their cities within our cities, where we must stay on the outside and beg for crumbs. We must stay on the outside and only show up to work. Because really and truly, 500 acres on Nevis. Do you think the Premier really intended for any domestic investors to participate in this scheme?
No.
He smirked in the assembly in St. Kitts and said some people like to run and come when they hear things is something good happening or something free. So we need to put a limit, put a size to it. He was the one that recommended 500 acres. 500 acres in Nevis, he said, and 750 acres in St. Kitts. Right? So when we sit back and look at what is happening, it definitely is reason to put our boots on the ground.
Welcome, caller. Welcome to your voice.
Good evening.
Hi, good evening.
Good evening.
Blessed my brother Manuel.
Yeah. Welcome, man.
Greetings and love, and blessed night, Sister Janet, Mad, and blessed night, other guests here.
Carleen.
Good night.
Right?
Yeah, Carleen Lawrence. Yeah, we're hearing.
Can you hear?
Yeah, we can hear you. A little muffled, but go ahead.
Anyway, I got asked an agent wrong, so it might be muffled well. But we want to say something. With this bill that we just recently had in the Parliament, things of these nature don't acquire to indicate not whether in federal or in local that our people can be respected by their rights and their sovereignty. Because it comes like a lot of these politicians looking for their own personal gain and letting our people vulnerable and being discarded when it comes to land. We are landless, not whether we think it are we landless. And it's time now the people stand up and indicate that they need land as a way of power, not to be dominate the people. Evaluate our generation so we don't have to depend on no foreign investors who is coming with their own garbage initiative. And these politicians, even with Dr. Janice, I'm telling you straight out tonight, my name is Ras I know who I am. We are ready to educate the people about centralization of power and start taking the personal gain to be in our muscle of power. We will have a danger coming ahead. It's time now we start putting things in proper perspective and just looking for political gain. You all have a blessing.
Yes, good evening, caller. Now, all the callers tonight have spoken about land being on patrimony, and both you ladies as well. As I look today at the Ukrainian president at the White House, trying to end the war, and I reflected on the fact that in 2014, there was an incursion by the Russians into Crimea. And again, during the 3 years of this war, they've made further incursions. And I was moved to go to my library to pick up this book, The Truth About Robert L. Bradshaw, written by my friend Glenroy Blanchett. And I decided to share a bit of it because a caller, a few calls back, said that Bradshaw had taken the lands in St. Kitts, and he took some in Nevis too. So from a historical perspective, let me just share a paragraph. As far back as 1931, the local government, and that's the government in St. Kitts, began to buy up estates in Nevis to encourage peasant farming. Low Ground and Hamilton estates were purchased with monies obtained from a colonial development fund. The land was subdivided into lots and offered for sale, and they gave the price, £12, £8 per acre. This policy was continued by Bradshaw administration. Whenever estates in Nevis came on the market for sale, Bradshaw's government bought them. In 1957, the government also acquired the 396-acre Indian castle from Dr. Lake, an Antiguan, who was rearing a few cattle and horses on the estate. The land was acquired for public purpose, vis-a-vis the development of agriculture in the island of Nevis. The central government eventually owned Low Ground Estate, Simmons' Estate, Potworks Estate, Eden Brown Estate, Hamilton Estate, Prospect Estate, Farms Estate, and Indian Castle, your favorite, my favorite too. By 1965, the government owned 15 estates in Nevis. Bradshaw established settlements on the estates with an agricultural officer stationed there. The agricultural officers were sent to Trinidad for training as agricultural extension officers. Small farmers were allowed a few acres of land to farm for peppercorn rent. Now, traditionally, we have heard that Bratcher acquired these lands, but it happened even before Bratcher, because Bratcher got into politics in 1946. Irony of all ironies, those lands were acquired for the people of Nevis. And you know, the great researcher Kelvin Daly has put the acreage on the south side of Nevis at 2,500 acres. 1/6 of Nevis. At 500 acres, we could have 5 SSZs over there.
Remember, there's no maximum. So 2,500 could be one.
One, yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Could be conservative.
So the irony of all of that is that a Nevisian leader is doing this, and I know you spoke very passionately of Indian Castle. It's my favorite estate as well. Speak a little bit more about that, what that means to the people.
Well,
as we have heard earlier,
yeah,
that side is the best fishing ground in the Federation.
It's close to our hearts, you know.
Hold it and let's take this one. Good evening, caller. Welcome to Your Voice.
Good evening, and good evening to your guest.
Good evening.
Dr. Daniel Hodge. I have a question. I've not seen the legislation, but I've heard mention of seabed lease up to 12 miles.
No, there is no number. There is no number with regards to the size of the seabed, but the seabed can be negotiated as part of the sustainability zone.
So, what I'm trying to get at is it's not just the land that we're talking about. We're talking about the surrounding ocean as well.
Yes.
And just a question. If I have, let's say I have Bachelor Hall, which is part of that southern section, and I have the seabed in front of me. That means I can now cut down the hill all the way up the Saddle Hill, throw it in the ocean, and increase my land price.
Interesting thought.
Well, remember you're going to have an independent body to review and to make sure that you're doing the right things. It's section 2E of the legislation. It says, where necessary, leasing of adjacent seabed, provided that no such lease shall have an initial term in excess of 99 years, but may contemplate renewals beyond the initial term. So this is saying the development agreement that the Prime Minister is to sign off on, and the NIA could opt whether or not they want to sign it. It can include provisions for the leasing of the adjacent seabed. Of course, the area of land that is to be included in the zone and the area of the seabed that is to be included would have to be defined and gazetted. Earlier I saw a provision where the development agreement was to be presented to the assembly, and in this last version I am not seeing that provision with regards to approval by the assembly, whether on St. Kitts or in Nevis. So I've seen 3 different iterations of this bill, and we'll see what when the act is actually gazetted, we would see what it says. But so sorry, caller. Yes, it does make that provision for the seabed to be part of the zone.
My point is, we don't only have to be concerned about land, we have to be concerned about ocean as well. Mm-hmm. And when I hear talk of independent bodies, who chooses them?
Yeah.
And how independent are they really?
Yeah, those are not necessary at all because we already have our legislation that deals with development. We have a specific legislation in Nevis, a specific legislation in St. Kitts that deals with development. They are responsible for implementing our development laws, and to bring an independent review body, it really, negates the whole concept of operating within the island of Nevis. I guess, the independent body is going to be assigned to a particular zone. I mean, like I said, trying so much to grab for everything. There's so many questions to be asked that people must be concerned about the direction in which we are going.
Well, I would like to thank you for your measured, calm response to this. And it seems as though you are going to have some very strong shoulders and take on the burden of being the leader of the opposition in the Federation, even though you're not elected into that house. So I thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Well, I don't know, Janice, if you're aware of it. I think, and by the way, last Wednesday on Freedom, you were brilliant. And I think one caller said it there, and our friend Jam Dem has said it many times here, that your role has to be elevated because there's no opposition at the federal level. And that's why I'm so happy that you've gone to St. Kitts to have an audience over there as well. You have to begin to see your role on a higher plane. We know what has happened in Nevis. They've tried to deny you the position as leader of the opposition, but I think your profile now sees you as somebody who federally, the people's champion. And I think you got to begin to see it as such. We're 3 years in. And as I've said very often, none of these two governments will go to term.
Well,
I can promise you that. None will go the 5 years. They'll be both scrambling in the not too distant future. So, Indian Castle and...
Indian Castle, Bachelor's Hall, these areas, I have, and my family, we've been, throughout the pastures and so forth all our lives. It's where we made our livelihood back in the day when life was different on Nevis. You had to work the land, you had to survive from the ocean and so forth. So, this is where my grandmother would pack us up. This is where we went to the beach as children. This is where, my grandfather went out to go fishing and so on and so forth. So it has that value. And then as a Nevisian, this is our little tiny piece of paradise, and we should be able to enjoy it. So as we have this special sustainable zone legislation, there's nothing special about it to the Nevisian people, because it seeks to exclude us, it seeks to rob us, it seeks to take from us what our generations of our ancestors would have worked for. And so I am hoping that people really become alarmed. I know since that piece at the town hall, I have gotten a lot of positive feedback from people along all sides of the political scheme, right? And I think it's because people recognize the gentleman was being untruthful, because they had approached so many persons about their land and offering them promises and so forth that just didn't make sense. People knew he was being untruthful. But I'm not sure that people really recognize how serious this thing is and how much it would exclude us from the areas.
All right, let's take this one. Caller, welcome.
Good night, Mr. Manners.
Hi, good night.
I would like them to go to the end of the 5 years, But we are the people from St. Kitts and Nevis. Let us go and clean up the voters list. Only people who born in St. Kitts and Nevis should be eligible to vote. Because at last state, you could only spend 6 months on St. Kitts or 6 months on Nevis. But we had to either live on St. Kitts and Nevis for a full year for them to be entitled to get on the voters list. So then there is no way they could make a whole year straight I mean, it's illegal. The immigration department needs to be cleaned up. The voters list need to be cleaned up first. We all need to come together seriously because Jamaicans and all kind of foreigners coming and voting to destroy our little federation. Like we ourselves, it's like that. That must be first and foremost. Good night.
Good night. Carleen, you said Indian Castle is your little zone, your little piece of paradise. I thought you were going to say as well that it's our Garden of Eden.
It's our Garden of Eden.
Marcus Garvey would have turned 138 yesterday. Of course, he came to St. Kitts November 2nd, 1937, and he said we should regard our islands as a Garden of Eden. And of course, his son came here, had very limited time on Nevis, met, you could say, only with the Premier and his wife at Golden Rock. And he came out of the meeting to tell us we had a fascinating exchange of ideas. And I left feeling intellectually enriched at the insights that Dr. Garvey offered in world affairs, politics, and importantly, the state of Pan-Africanism. I wonder if he shared with him the plans for the southern part of Nevis. Because his son would have told him, that's our Garden of Eden.
Yes.
You must protect it.
Yes.
Janice, where do we go from here? After tonight, I know you said that we will do anything to defend the people of Nevis. Let's take this caller, though. Good evening, caller. Welcome to the program.
Mr. Manners, good night.
Hi, good night.
The cool ruler, good night.
Good night, sir.
Carleen, good night.
Good night.
And good night to all your listeners. Mr. Manners, me got the platform with the Premier, so me not go spend too much of time here.
No, well, your platform won't be here on Wednesday, and it wasn't last week. He's up at Martha's Vineyard, so make your point here.
Yeah, listen, the only thing that me kind of lighten up and then me go get serious. The only thing that kind of go wrong tonight, only because Carleen come in. Because on Carleen program, he make Carleen and then you got Carleen.
Oh, I see. I see.
You get that, right?
I get that, yeah.
But here now, Carleen said a little earlier, she was a single woman. So me wonder if by tomorrow morning when the office for the married license open, if some guy I go ahead for the forgot one strong woman like that beside of him.
Yeah, good idea.
And then I can send up one piece of cake for me. And then the bride and the bridegroom will usually pan the cake. I can send that for me too, right?
Okay.
Then we get to the serious part now. The Corolla, me think a little earlier you say that the bill, you got tax-free.
Well, they can...
You serious why you said just now tax-free?
Absolutely. It's a special sustainability zone to attract foreign investment. And so all of the different concessions that, developers currently get who are not in a zone, they can get that and more because this is a special zone now. So in these zones, you can expect that there would be minimal, if any, tax because the whole idea that they would want us to believe is that they want to make these zones appealing to investors. And so the cost of doing business in these zones should be, much less than it would be elsewhere on the islands or across the region. So you can almost expect carte blanche. You bring in things, you'd get lots of waivers. And it's unfortunate because when even outside of these zones, when you have developers come in and they get tax breaks and concessions, it is quite unfortunate when, for whatever reason, if they have to leave, the Premier does not see it as his responsibility to hold them accountable to the socioeconomic development aspects that they look at. Because they came in and they got tax breaks because they're supposed to be employing a certain number of people and making certain contributions to the communities, etc. And so after getting all the tax breaks, you really can't prematurely leave without any consequences. And so, but within these special zones, you can expect that the incentives are going to be significant.
Well, listen, let me listen to the debate, Let me listen to the debate and discuss about it. Let me quote the Deputy Premier. He said, Madam Speaker, he read through the whole bill, and the bill, our straightforward bill. He say, and with this bill, the government now we see who got money from who not got money. You remember all that there? Maybe listen. There's no speculation. Maybe listen, right? And he say, with the government due diligence check, everything will run all right, because then I go just out there just do, in other words, the government I go be in check and on top of things. So then, according to what you they tell me now, and some other things that me hear, which in pan this show and all, pan the tell me show and so forth and so, is that the Deputy Premier not understand the bill then? So then me go ask when the representative for the NRP for the area there, because if you would about it, I need one representative for the area, because the deputy premier now again. So when a tax free, how Nevis when Nevis go pick up the money from then?
Well,
okay then. Me will ask the premier all that.
Okay.
Okay then.
Okay, well, thank you. It's 17 minutes past 10, so we have made up the 8 minutes we lost at the top, and I know you don't want to do too much overtime here. So Janice will give you an opportunity to respond to that, then we'll hear final words.
To respond to where the...
Well, some thoughts raised by the last caller, or last... if you wanted to.
Well, essentially, the zones are to attract investors, and they're different means by which you can get revenues. Of course, they're going to be fees, etc. You would expect that the development activities would create jobs and that sort of thing. But I really have not delved into how the government would expect to leverage the developments. I suspect that there would probably be some investment in bonds and these sorts of things. But whatever the purpose of the zones, we know, for example, offshore businesses, which I suspect there may be some attraction there. There's some fees associated with that, not necessarily taxes, but fees to run the business. Overall, it is not a look good. It is quite unfortunate that the 3 ministers that the people of Nevis voted for to send down to bring back fair share have not brought back fair share, but they have given away our authorities, our powers, and they are attempting to give away our lands. The question with regards to what we are going to do about it, well, we certainly must start a campaign of raising awareness. We understand that the development zone, the development agreements must be signed. They must be gazetted. We cannot wait until they're gazetted. Like I said, there was some measure for parliamentary input. I'm going to have to go back and see where that is. But we cannot afford, or we cannot allow the Premier to feel comfortable in acquiring the lands by eminent domain. The notice based on the Nevis ordinance for land acquisition, a notice would need to be published at least twice in the newspaper. And certainly, once it has been published twice, then the Premier can move in. We, of course, are going to need to engage our attorneys and find out how best can we prevent this from happening. It cannot happen. And so if it is the first notice that we see of any such legislation, because you see, I suspect that they would want to sneak it in the middle of the night and say, well, this area is now a SSZ, and all you would see is the description of the boundary, and this is now a SSC, and then they're coming with the eminent domain. And so we would have to sit down and see how best can we look at this. Now, there's some persons who have questioned the constitutionality of the legislation, but as I mentioned earlier, let me see if I still have it here, the Section 37 of the Constitution, which we did not see included in a whole lot of other legislation where it was well needed. And so now it's basically saying that the NIA has consented for that legislation to be applicable to Nevis. And whether or not, because the rights that we have in Nevis are constitutional rights, we would have to get the lawyers involved to see whether or not the legislation can be challenged. It's unfortunate that the 3 members will go to Sinkis and without any consultation with the people of Nevis regarding this legislation, take such a significant step, unfortunately such a significant step backwards, and did not bother to consult with the people of Nevis. So I think the first approach would have to be to look at the legality of it. We must continue to make people aware and understand that, they can lose their lands. And, we speak about the lands, but there are people who have their homes. There are people who have their homes who would have, raised their children, family heirlooms, etc. And this puts me in the mind of what the administration is doing with regards to the people in Newcastle. They have not indicated that they have all of the necessary financing for the airport, but they have a little trickle of money and they're asking people to relocate, give up your homes and relocate, and they have not secured the financing. And how can that be right? And I cannot understand how the Prime Minister would guarantee a loan when the project, I'm not even certain that the project has been approved, that they have gotten the necessary permits. And how reckless is it of the government to start to purchase people's properties when they have not really assessed what mitigation measures they may have to put in place. They have not really looked at all of the environmental and social impacts that must be addressed, that were not necessarily considered in the budget that was put forward, which was based primarily on, the cost of developing the airport. So we can see clearly this government shares no empathy with people and their homes, their family heirlooms, what is valuable to people. What do people value? They really don't care. In the name of their kind of development that they cannot complete, which are not necessarily fit for purpose, they don't mind how many people must relocate, must move. And these are the things that we must put an end to. I usually end some of my posts on Facebook saying we cannot continue like this. And who thought that within this 5 years that we would be here discussing the NIA turning over powers to the federal government, which we already had secured? And who would have thought that we would, and I don't want to say we, that the CCM administration would so happily put themselves back at the mercies of the federal government. For what reason? For what reason? It is certainly not for the benefit of the people of Nevis. It must be for the benefit of the Premier and the few people around him. And to repeat the quote, that economic growth that benefits only a tiny minority, whether domestic or foreign, is not true development. And I'm going to say this tonight. I, at one time, would have looked at the Sustainable Island State agenda and felt that this is a platform that we can grow St. Kitts and Nevis together on. And it is quite unfortunate that there are certain provisions in the Sustainable Development Goals that have been put aside, discarded for the benefit of a tiny few. We would not allow this to happen, and we would start putting the wheels in motion to try to ensure that the people of Nevis are not forced out of their homes and their lands. Mr. Manners, I know it is a bit late, but I cannot end this evening without extending condolences to the family of Violetta C. Brooks in Cotton Ground. The funeral would be on Wednesday at 2 p.m. at the Clifton Methodist Church. Letta is someone that I got to know, and I think the story of the bus kind of, covers the person that she was, the fight that she had, and the no-nonsense type of person that she was. And I do extend my condolences to the family, and most certainly the NRP family would be present to demonstrate that one of our soldiers, one of our giants, has gone, but she would not be forgotten. And so that's on Wednesday. Service starts at 2. The viewing is at 1. It's a small church. I'm sure it's going to be overcrowded, but I'll be there early enough to ensure that I have my seat right at the front. One other thing, I may not be here next week, Monday. The professor will be in, and the following Saturday, August 30th, I would be in New York along with a team, a small delegation, but impactful one, I'm certain it's going to be. And so we look forward to meeting with our brothers and sisters in the diaspora to share some of our ideas, some of our concerns, and to continue to agitate that each one can do something. We cannot afford another day, much less another 5 years of a CCM-led administration. We won the last election, and we must be vigilant. We must ensure that all T's are crossed, all I's are dotted, and do what we must do to ensure that our beautiful Nevis can be the pride of joy of those who are gone and those who are yet unborn. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Party Leader. And since you have sort of wrapped it up, we'll break protocol a little bit. Carleen, stand your ground, Lawrence. It was an absolute pleasure to have you.
Thank you.
And so your final thoughts.
Well, I just want to say thank you for the opportunity. Thank you, Party Leader. It's been an honor to share the microphones with you tonight.
Likewise.
Yes, and from the phone calls, we can tell that the people are listening. So I just want to encourage our people to wake up and realize that more in the matter than the pestle. And that's my final word tonight.
Well, thank you very much. And we'll end this way, a way in which I'm sure our Montserrat caller will be very pleased. Alphonsus Cassel, the mighty Arrow, left us on September 15th, 2010. But 54 years ago, he gave us this song, which still resonates today. Hold On to Your Property by the mighty Arrow.
When the settlers came to this island about 4 centuries ago, they worked them carrots and arrowwats till they couldn't take it no more. Then they sent for us from Africa to do the bull work down here and exploit the land, and we labor, fill their pockets and disappear. Now they're coming back for their beads and clothes, and they want to buy all the land by the shores. Hold on to your property. A new day is dawning. I'm warning you, my friend. Hold on to your property and will it for your children. They used to dress in the scissors and the crop of color and toy, and you never could see the woman knees, no matter how you tried. They ride in the big time buggy, and we the slave yet. Now the boxing check done by ESO, that thing almost break me heart. Now they say the weather too hot for clothes. That is the story. So they want to buy all the land by the shores. Hold on to your property. Own big plantations, 10,000 acres of land. And if your cow just bite a blade of grass, straight in the pond gone. But when they start to feel retribution, they had to pack up and run. Now they come in looking for sugar mill. They set a blasted son of a gun. Although sandfly have their foot in sore, they still want a plot or lot by the shore.